Hello and welcome and happy new moon if you celebrate the new moon. So I thought I would do a nice new moon reading for you guys. So using my Angels and Ancestors cards, one of my favourite packs. These two packs I use the most, and feel the energy of these relate, and they've kind of evolved over time to kind of be beyond what the meaning is and take on their own meaning to me, just like my fortune cards that I use when I do readings. So let's ask, what is it that we need to know for this new moon? If you have any questions, if you want me to answer with a reading, then don't hesitate to message. You can put them below this video and I will do a video on that specific topic. So that said, let's open and receptive to the highest good. What is it that we need to know today for this new moon that can help us, that can guide us, that can take us to a place of love and clarity and understanding? We thank you. I thank my wisdom within and guidance. Right, so Peacekeeper, let go of the need to be right. And I'm seeing the buffalo and the peace pipe in this picture. So the buffalo, actually, I'm drawn to the horns, which reminds me a little bit of the goat, the Capricorn, the structures. Our woven patterns and the balance of our own with internal yin and yang. But making peace, cultivating peace within us. So the ancestors, the American Indians, were very wise. They had an understanding and a connection to the land. And though they had great warriors in their culture, they knew that the battle of the two wolves is that of our energy within. When we let go of the need to be right, when we let go, which we do just before the new moon, we're saying it's not that we're going, well, I'm right and I'm not even going to talk about it, so let's just let it go kind of thing. But we're letting go of the perception that our truth has to be somebody else's truth. And I think this is important to understand the subtle difference of that, because outwardly, surfacely, people might go, yeah, okay, I've let it go, but you haven't. What the letting go of that and that need, because it's coming from a state of need, is knowing that we all have a perspective, the 360 degrees of a circle. One person looking this way, one person looking that way, will have different views of the same middle point. It's going back to the middle point, assessing and kind of allowing that we'll all have that connection to the middle point, but we'll see it from different views. So culturally, religiously, the meaning of the how and the why to get to that middle point might be different. It doesn't mean that one is wrong and the other one's right, or that one's wrong and the other one's right. So when we let go and we just know and accept that we don't have to be the one that's in the right or in the wrong, we just know that everyone has a different perspective, and we let go of that judgment, we let go of that need for ours to be the greatest or the only way of doing things. And this card reminds me that a lot of people don't understand that they do this. A lot of the time we're so used to defending maybe our stance, depending on our upbringing and our triggers, that we sometimes will feel that sense that we need to kind of correct or so go back into that cellular memory of when we were territorial aspects of protecting my piece of land. And that's where it comes from, basically, that wanting to protect and establish that this is my home, this is the way we do things, these are our rules, this is how it's done. So this innate aspect of the need. So they all come from the amygdala, the fight or flight response brain, and that wanting to fight to protect, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but can, when it's out of balance, be a bad thing. So we need to let go of that, because in doing so, we are allowing for people to understand and shift and grow in their own time, come to their own conclusions, and also be themselves. We're moving into Aquarius, where we're all going to do everything our own way differently. And that sense of cultivating peace, in order to have peace for the greater good, you sometimes need to let go, and let go of the ideas of what you believe is the way it should be. It's the way it could be. Change your shoulds to coulds, as I would say to my members. And we started when we worked through Louise L. Hay and her processes. So next card is see beyond the current situation, the seer. So look beyond what is happening now. I'm going to give an example. There's lots of people that are viewing certain things that are going on. I have to be careful in my wording. From the possible negative repercussions of what their perspective means. Some other people are seeing it one way, and then there's that division. We need to see beyond the division of what is happening in the now moment. The seer sees the road ahead, sees the pitfalls, sees the learned behaviours and how they will play out in that frequency. They see the hit and how that ripple will affect through time. So when you see beyond that, you're kind of seeing the action and knowing that that hit will hit that ripple and will create that reality for you. You need to see past your own experiences and be open to seeing beyond what you cannot see in front of you. We are moving into a time when it's going to have more and more people seeing things and saying they're seeing things, and you might be not seeing those things. You might not see from the same perspectives and not understand because you've not lived that experience. But if we see beyond our experience and more into the feeling of things and discernment of the truth of stuff, we go beyond the veil, and that's when it can lift. We don't have the blinkers on. My dad always used to say, you see like this, you have to see, which is great if you know you want to get from A to B and that's how you're going to get there. But if you're like dead set, it's got to be the straight line, it doesn't work that way. If you have to get there, in reality is more swirls and ups and downs, and how we get there when we're following the flow rather than got to go this way. So it's seeing beyond what we cannot see in front of us. And the way I always describe this, in past readings, I've said this, and this is coming up again, and I'm hearing this come through. Think of highest perspective, the highest trajectory for you, whether you call it God, Goddess, Source, Universe, or just, I don't know, the best trajectory or of highest possibility. You can't see that when you're in the trench. If you're up on the mountain, you can see that path and you can see that windy, twisty road, and you can see there's a bit, and then there's a clearing. But when you're down here and you can't see the forest for the trees is the expression, I believe. And she's got her face is covered. She's got this veil over her eyes. But I'm also feeling a sense of, during this, it's the current situation has meaning. So when you're in that depths of the emotion, when you're in that depths of the anger or that depths of the fear, you don't quite understand that there's always a lesson. The challenges in our life help us grow. They evolve us. Think of crystals, that pressure, and the pressure of gravity at the moment is what is evolving and moving our societies and our evolution forward. So all of these pressures, all of these things that are happening, when you see beyond and you look from higher perspective, you can see that's creating that crystalline beauty within, because we're looking within more. We're not seeking externally. We're having to go within to align with what's right for us, because it's different for each of us. So it's not about seeing the future, although you associate a seer, and when you look at her picture, she's got her crystal ball. It isn't, but it's predicting. So actually, in what we do when we pull a reading, and how I see them differently to maybe a lot of other people, it's the potentials, it's the understanding of the balance. And I know there are lots of readers that do this, that are very integral to this as well. It's a possibility. It's maybe things that will be in a soul contract, if you like, for want of an understanding or a way of viewing things, that some things are little hurdles for us to build the muscles, to strengthen us, to like strength training. And I was explaining this to my daughter and her friend yesterday. Were asking about immunity, and they were saying, oh, so-and-so's eating, like, picked up the apple with the dirt. And I said, well, a little bit of that actually builds up your immunity. And I said, think of it like training. Like, if you're doing the training and the workout every day, your body gets used to that pressure of the earth, the crystalline pressure that creates the crystals and the beautiful gems within. So you're building on those strengths, so that when something else like a germ comes up, because you're getting those little things for the immune system, your body is used to it's kind of, it's built up that in incrementation, that it can then knock that down and doesn't affect the body. Whereas if you're relying on something else, you're not building that natural strength, and therefore you're like, everything's clean and perfect, and it's not. The body then has to then go to the boxing ring without the training. So it's like you wouldn't run a marathon when it, in terms of the strength and energy it needed to deal with that, without doing the training. It's hit and miss. It's more hit and miss. And it's the same with our immune system. And I was explaining that to them about that's why a little bit of dirt is actually good for you. And there's been this cultural kind of brainwashing, cleanliness, it's as good as godliness and stuff, because of the understanding that we need to clear our energy. And there's a misunderstanding in that sense. It's that clearing of a regular basis. The bathing, the cleanliness is about the clearing, and our perception of what dirt actually is, or what negative actually is, has something to do with that. But yeah, I'm not saying like the best, but it builds up the immunity. So there was a kind of like, everyone wants all these cleaning products, and then they were realizing that our immune system are weakened because we're not coming into contact with the germs that we need. And our body and our gut health and our hygiene is actually all connected to the good bacteria. So we don't want to we kill the bad bacteria, but we're killing the good bacteria as well. And then we've not got it in the first place. And it's the same kind of thing of how we build on that. We're used to that. We've got those, where am I going with this? What was the meaning? Why did we go down this train of thought? Having that balance as of understanding of our expectations as well, into moving beyond the current situations and building up our immunity, our clearing. I've forgotten exactly where. I'm sure it would come to me if it was meant to, but maybe that was said, what was needed said has come out. Trusting in the unknown, trusting in our own ability to heal, trusting in our own ability to move beyond conflicts and triggers and traumas. Our society are learning to clear our traumas, learning and understanding in psychology and how we deal with traumas. For example, if something's come up in your youth, that then when that comes up again in a cycle, when you're reminded of that trauma, you react according to how and what that was. And we're being asked to trust in something that we can't see, in stuff that actually you may not even be able to perceive from that point of view. And that's what true faith is. But when you move beyond faith, you move into an inner knowing. You learn to trust that unknown, because it isn't necessarily the unknown that you're trusting. You're trusting that connection, that feeling, that deep, authentic, instinctive knowing that's within us all, that we're all capable of. And I really feel this is to do with neurological pathways. I keep looking at the lightning on this card, and the eagle's perspective is we have to see past our stories, our daily traumas, and move past them, whatever that is, whether that's what we've been through over the last 2 years in society, and then our expectation of more, what we went through as children, as a human race in its infancy. We need to transcend that in our understanding and our connection to our conscious, and move beyond what's in the subconscious. Allow ourselves to see beyond the current situation and trust. We need to let go of whether we're wrong or right, and just trust in our heart's understanding. Let's see one more. Star ancestry. Follow the voice of your soul. Now, whether you believe we come from the stars, or you believe in evolutionary things you've been taught in school, or your cultural beliefs, whatever it is that you believe in, you need to follow your soul purpose. This month has been about, this energy of this month is definitely about us looking to what our values are, what our core values are, and are those values in line with what you do. For example, if you are living a plant-based diet, are you then are you plant-based because, like me, my body won't tolerate dairy, but also because energy of meat for me, I can feel the energy of that, and it interferes with my own energy. So for values for me, that means that I don't want energetically anything that's interfering with my energy at its core value. I obviously don't like cruelty to animals either. But that's actually incidental, probably the wrong word, incidental. Sorry if I'm triggering some people out there. For me, it's more than just about not eating animals. There's a sense of, I wouldn't kill an animal, so I wouldn't eat it. If that's the case, if you're someone that would hunt and you're happy with killing and you're comfortable with that, so you're therefore comfortable consuming that, that's fine. But I remember years ago when I was in college and I was just vegetarian, and my friend said the same shit, and I thought that makes sense. She said, if you're not actually prepared to kill something, if you can only eat something because you're buying it in the shop and you're removed from all of that energy, even though that happens, then you shouldn't really be eating it, because you're only actually eating it because someone else has killed it for you. And the young guys in college were like, yeah, but you know, why would I go and kill the animal? But it's about the value of what that means. If that's something that, and I'm not judging, please think, because there are some people, like the American Indians, a great example of this, when they took a life to feed themselves. Every aspect of that animal was used, but it was used and it was deemed sacred. It wasn't done en masse. It wasn't done inhumanely. It was done with knowing that that has a soul. And this is follow the voice of your soul. But that understanding of what is the soul? Is it your emotions and your mind to you? Is it something more? For me, it's that multidimensional aspects of connecting in all levels, in not just the 360-degree perspective here on earth, but on all levels of all realms that I tune into and see beyond. So in following my soul, it's following that which is from my history, but what is integral to me, what I value here in the now, and why. So maybe that wasn't a great example, but it's what's right for you. If you don't, like I don't, again, along that same, using that one example, that covers lots of aspects in my life. Like now, I always read the packets. I look into the companies I'm buying for. It doesn't mean I'm perfect at this. I have stuff in my house. People have bought me stuff. And I already pre-owned things I wouldn't just chuck. However, it's making a conscious effort to be aware that does that align with my values. And that too goes to the level of the job you're in, the work you do. Is there a conflict about what you value and what your company does? I know that lots of people might say, well, you know, money's more important, and I value my family and keeping them fed. My partner would definitely be one of them. But actually what he does is in line with his values. So although he says he wouldn't do anything as long as it means his family are fed and taken care of. And I think that protective nature is very innately part of the masculine, but also part of the mother side of us, to nurture, to protect and keep safe. But how we do that is different. So for me, my children knowing how to forage, what plant medicines there are amply around us,